someone describe toxic masculinity?
I take that one. I'll take it because I've talked a lot about it. And I'll define it as what I see it as, and I see it as sort of the norms that prevent men from expressing emotion, and I think that's the biggest piece of it. And so that sort of the toxicity comes from the inability to communicate those emotions in any social setting, right? Whether that's with friends, whether it's in relationships, and then that obviously triggers other things that you do that make it toxic.
How does toxic masculinity impact the way that people's hygiene and hair care is policed, or men's hygiene and hair care is policed?
I think what I'm saying about friends kind of just holding you, you know, why does your hair look so shit, like you go get a trim, that sort of thing. Remember like in our circle, one person was losing his hair like when he was 18, 19, and we gave him shit, right? That was like how we used to take the piss, right? Cast someone to so that person had to shave his hair by the time I was 20. But I know it was also part of how toxic we were towards him, right?
But I think it's also like I think over the last 10 years at least, this idea of manscaping or taking care of yourself in a way has definitely, it's not rare anymore. I think it's more, like I remember earlier on there would be jokes about being a pretty boy, or there was another term that they used, I forget what it was. It was like, metrosexual, that one, right? How problematic that term in itself is, like, in order to reiterate the fact that you're straight, but you take care of your hair, but that term was everywhere. It was in the media. It was like, oh, he's metro, like he's trendy, but he's not gay. Oh wow, you know. So like those are, but like now it's more socially acceptable to look clean, take care of yourself, and yeah. So.
Do you think it's important for men to decide what they choose to do with their own hair and how they choose to present themselves?
Yeah, I think it's important that men and women, anybody with their hair or whatever style that they want to do, they should be able to do.
I agree that men and I think everyone should be able to decide on their own how they want to present themselves, but we must also be respectful. For example, shaving your hair into a mohawk. It was a cool trend back in the day, but it's actually super disrespectful towards indigenous communities who, where the chief only they wear it as a symbolic, as an honor. So when we, especially living in a country like Canada where colonization is still going on, we as treaty people should acknowledge that there are still people who are not able to do that because of this because of the policies created, and there are people who are not able to do it in history. So for us to wear it as a fashion, it's very disrespectful.
I mean, I feel like a lot of our hair culture comes from Black communities as well, especially for men.
Right.
I know that it changed my life when I got a black barber. Before that, I would go to the mall and get a white haircut. But like the bald fades, the amount of time spent that they give you, because hair is so important to their culture, that is sort of infused in their business model and how they do business with clients. So you can go to a high-end salon and they'll give you a haircut in 20 minutes. But any fucking barber you go to, a black barber, will spend at least an hour on your hair. And like the fade is usually impeccable, right? So that once you do that, you're like, oh, I don't want a fucking 20-minute, 17-minute, whatever fashion cut haircut. So I think that's
But then it's also, I think there's sometimes when I see Tamil people who like braid their hair, cane roll their hair, cornrow the hair and things like that, where there's so many negative stereotypes associated with that against black people, and I don't know, it's always it's uneasy, right, when Tamil people kind of flip in and out of it, like when they choose to adopt those hairstyles, and then they can always take them out, and then they have normal standard hair again, right?
I
I guess like with the mohawk.
Yeah, I think like even like the sort of even at home, and this is personal but whatever, I think everybody's experienced it where not everybody's experienced it, but in my experience, I've gone home with like a bald fade or like a very low fade, and they're like in cuddle room or do the cut, right?
Right.
So yeah, so that's something I think is also interesting,
Right.
because it doesn't fit the normal
Yeah.
tumbled hairstyle. So
Yeah.
why have you done that fade sort of thing?
Right.
I wonder how much caste and caste has to do with kind of the policing of hairstyles, because I remember seeing this in one old movie where the movie was set in the late 19th century or something, or early 20th century, where they were Brahmin and they were like, you can't be with a Misa. Misa is just for non-Brahmin, so why are you in the Misa, right? And it either had to be a full beard or completely shaved. So supposedly Brahmins don't just wear a moustache, so there was something reserved for other, supposedly oppressed castes, basically, castes. And I think how much, I guess it's not that prevalent or that apparent anymore, but how much has that kind of carried over in terms of policing people's hairstyle, and you shouldn't do it this way, this is not how we do it, right?
I've definitely heard like caste-related comments with dyeing hair. Yeah. Somebody and like just the idea of dyeing hair or getting blonde hair or whatever.
Right.
I've heard in my home and I'm sure in the community that happens.
Guys, what message do you think we need to promote to young boys growing up? How can we pass on healthy hair traditions to ensure they feel confident about their own bodies and hair?
Interesting, because growing up, I don't think that was ever told. We weren't told like, hey, your hair is important. I think now as we pass your teenage and university life and in your career, then when you're meeting partners, that's when hair is so important.
Right.
But when you're young, nobody really tells you, hey, you gotta have really healthy hair. Maybe I think maybe with the girls, maybe the moms would be like, hey, take care of your hair, comb it and straighten it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't think
I
don't think young boys are being taught, hey, you need to make sure you wash your hair or keep it clean, get a haircut all the time or whatever. I don't think that's taught.
Really?
Even now, I don't know.
Right.
My earliest hair memories with like in childhood were going to like a basement haircutting lady who fucks it up for sure. And then you have to live with that and like yell at my mom the whole way back, like, oh, why can't we go to the mall? I think those are the only sort of hair conversations I remember, because we were, they didn't want to spend money on my hair, so it was like, okay, what was the cheapest option? We're gonna go to this.
Right.
But other than that,
I remember my dad gave me a haircut.
Your dad.
Yeah, I don't remember the conversations to me about hair, but definitely the women in my family, right? It was like a cutty wave. Don't walk around with the hair open like a pail or something like that. Right? And, I think we just didn't. As an adult point, it was like we didn't. As men, we were boys. We didn't really think about it in those terms, of course, right? But it was just never a thing. Like, my dad used to be quite, as in it couldn't get too long, right? And I remember one day it was an act of protest where I cut it really short, because I must have been like 12 or something, and I was pissed off because of something. Maybe it was my nose that okay, guys, too long. I just trimmed it really shortly down. So
yeah, I think the cool, not the cool, but I think the thing I would want to pass on is like hair, just like style or whatever, is also evolutionary and it evolves and doesn't stay the same, and you can make it or style it the way you want it to. So